This is part two of our series on filters, specifically oriented towards client filters to start out with, and we want to get right to the meat of the matter. So let's click the filters button again on the client's form. Brings up the select clients dialog, otherwise known as the filter builder. We want to go to the second tab page, which is where we start to get into building custom filter conditions. So what we've got is at the top of the page in the upper left corner here is a list of tables. So we've got the clients table selected, and then below that we'll see a list of field names that are available in that clients table. So if we open this up, we'll see every data table in CSST that has any relationship whatsoever to building a filter for client conditions. Let's leave it on clients, and then in the where field drop-down list, which appears directly underneath that, we'll see all the different field names that appear in the client's table. So we've got it set on first name, just as an example, but last name and middle initial and race and ethnicity and a whole bunch of other things in that client's table will be listed here, and you can choose any one of those. So the idea then is that we want to take the value that's in that field for a particular client record and compare it to something. So in the comparison block here, we can say it is or it is not, as we choose to do. And then the comparison operator will give you several different choices. Like means equal in sort of a mathematical sense, and that's the one that you probably use most frequently, but you've also got other choices like contain. So if we said contain, we'd simply be looking for any first name that contained the letters TOM, if we were to use this example that we have displayed here right now. In list is a way to put in a list of comma delimited, comma separated values. So if you wanted to see, again using this example, all clients whose first name is in the list of Tom, comma Ray, comma Joe, you could do that with that in list operator. Empty means just what it says. So if we were to say empty, we would first of all, it eliminates the condition entry simply because all we're asking for now is a list of all client records where the first name is empty. Or then we can use null, which is a specialized database terminology referring to fields that have not only are empty, but that have never been entered. And that's applicable in some situations, but not too many. So let's go back to the like. Then we're going to say, we want all client first names where the comparison is like, and we've entered Tom here. We can put anything we like in there, make it Joe, and then the idea here is that's a single condition. You can string together as many different conditions as you like, but we want that condition to appear in the selection criteria list down here towards the bottom. And we've already got it set up so that we had it to like Tom. If we wanted to add this to the list, we would end up with 2. So we'd say first name like Tom and first name is like Joe, which is an impossibility because a person can only have one value in their first name field. So the alternative is we'll delete this one. We'll come back up here and say Joe again. And now instead of adding it to the list, we just want to edit the one that's already highlighted in that list. So we click Edit List. It changes it to the condition that we just put in here. And now we're ready to go unless we want to add other conditions. But just for illustration purposes, let's try this one. So we click Apply, and it then gives me a list back on the first page, just an illustration of all the people that meet that condition that we put in. We're still in the filter builder, so in order to apply this back to the client's form, we want to click Continue. And now we have a list, and you'll see scrolling up and down over here in the first name column, it's everybody whose first name is Joe. So that's a very simple illustration of the way Filter Builder can work. Let's undo the filter, go back to it again, click it again, and you'll notice that the way we left it comes back. And that's for each individual user. So if you're logged in as you, it's going to come back to whatever conditions you put in there last and leave them there. And of course, then you're free to modify that and do anything you like. Let's add another condition and say last name. And we'll say contains, and we'll say WE. and we'll click Add to the list. And you notice that when we click the Add or the Edit, we've got another operator here, a Boolean operator for those of you who are database geeks, that is either and or, and it will always default to and, but the idea is that when we add this to the list, it's going to say first name in clients is like Joe, and the last name in clients contains the letters W-E. So if we had changed that to an or, that would obviously mean something, well, I hope it's obvious, would mean something somewhat different. So then you'd be getting a list of all the clients whose first name is Joe or their last name contains W-E, which is a different list. If we click apply here, and we find out that no clients meet that condition, so let's make it a little simpler. We'll just say W, and we'll say edit, and we'll say apply. And now we've got 5 people whose first name starts with Joe and they have a W in their last name, and we can say continue, and that filter, that set of filter conditions then is applied to the list in the client's form.